In this video, we will explore the concepts of momentum and impulse. We will define linear momentum and restate Newton's second law of motion in terms of momentum. We will then introduce impulse and understand the importance of force-time graphs. In everyday language, we might hear a sportsperson being described as having momentum, and this usually means they are experiencing a period of progress and are difficult to stop. But in physics, momentum has a similar but more precise definition. Every object that is in motion has momentum. We define the linear momentum of a body as the product of the mass of a body and its velocity. Using the units of mass and velocity, it follows that the unit of momentum will be kilogram-meters per second. For example, the momentum of a table tennis ball with mass 0.003 kilograms and velocity 5 meters per second to the right will have a momentum of 0.015 kilogram-meters per second to the right. Now compare this with a heavier football of mass 0.4 kilograms with the same velocity, and this will have a momentum of 2 kilogram-meters per second. Notice how we are using the quantity velocity instead of speed. Velocity is a vector quantity, so it has a direction as well as a magnitude compared to speed. So momentum is a vector quantity and has the same direction as the velocity of the body. Momentum can be used to state an important version of Newton's second law. Recall that Newton's second law of motion can be expressed as F equals ma, where F is the resultant force on an object of mass m and a is the object's acceleration. We can use the following kinematic equation and rearrange this to eliminate the acceleration from Newton's second law. Now notice that when we expand this bracket out, we have two mass times velocity terms, so the numerator is equivalent to the difference between the final momentum and initial momentum of a body. Therefore, this interpretation of Newton's second law states that the resultant force on an object is equal to the time rate of change of momentum of the object. This form is particularly useful when we have a changing mass, while F equals ma can only be used for a constant mass. We will now provide the following example where the momentum version can be used. To calculate the time interval in which a force acts, we can rearrange Newton's second law to make time the subject, and substitute in the relevant values. Moreover, we initially have a stationary object which must have a momentum of 0. So completing this calculation gives a time of 4 seconds. We will now define a quantity closely related to momentum called impulse. If a constant resultant force F acts on a body during a time interval delta t, the impulse of the resultant force, denoted by J, is defined as the product of the resultant force F and the time interval delta t. Impulse is a vector quantity with the same direction as the resultant force and has units of Newton seconds. To see the importance of impulse, let's revisit the momentum version of Newton's second law. Multiplying this equation by the time interval delta t gives the following result. But notice how this product F delta t is what we have just defined to be impulse. Therefore, this shows that the impulse of a force acting on a body is equivalent to the change in momentum of that body. From this result, the units of impulse are the same as momentum, so Newton seconds can be interchanged with kilogram-meters per second. This impulse-momentum equivalence also holds true when the forces involved are not constant. Such forces can be represented on a force-time graph, where this example could represent the force on a football that is in contact with a person's foot over a period of time. For any shape of curve, the area under the curve of a force-time graph is equal to the impulse of the force. This is because we can replace the varying force with the average force during the interaction, and the area under the curve can be estimated with a rectangle of the same area. We can now note that a large force acting for a short time can have the same impulse and same change in momentum as a smaller force acting for a longer time. This result has important implications when it comes to safety. If a fast-moving car stops suddenly in a collision, the driver's momentum will change from a large value to zero in a very short time, potentially causing injuries as the force exerted on the driver will be large if the person is unrestrained. So cars will be installed with airbags which will inflate during a collision. Airbags will increase the time taken for the driver to stop, and if the change in the driver's momentum is the same, a longer stopping time will reduce the force on the driver and the possibility of injury. Let's now consider a numerical example which uses the impulse of a varying force to calculate the final velocity of a ball. Remember that impulse is a vector quantity, so we will choose right to be the positive direction for the purpose of this calculation. We begin by calculating the impulse of this varying force from the area under the force time graph. This can be done by calculating the area of a triangle with a base length of 40 milliseconds, which is equivalent to 0.04 seconds, and a height of 150 newtons. So the impulse of this force is equal to 3 newton seconds. We know that impulse is equivalent to the change in momentum of the ball, and momentum is given by mass multiplied by velocity. The mass of the tennis ball stays constant, but the velocity is changing, so we can calculate the final velocity from the change in velocity term. The difference between final and initial velocity can be determined by dividing throughout by mass to give 50 meters per second. If we now rearrange for final velocity, the initial velocity term will be equal to negative 90 meters per second, because the ball initially moves to the left and we chose right to be the positive direction. Therefore, the final velocity of the ball will be 31 meters per second to the right. We will now provide a final summary of the key understandings from this video. We defined the linear momentum of a body as the product of the mass of a body and its velocity. Newton's second law can then be interpreted using momentum, where it states that the resultant force on an object is equal to the time rate of change of momentum of the object. Moreover, this version can be used in situations where the mass is changing. We then define the impulse of a force on a body as the product of the force and the time interval in which this force acts, and this is equivalent to the change in momentum of that body. Moreover, impulse can be calculated from the area under the curve of a force time graph. This now concludes our video on momentum and impulse. Thank you for watching.